The evolving man who aspires to the divinest heights is a link between God and the animal. He is capable of looking at the sky and he has still contact with the creature around him. He meets the low, he meets the high, and he sees all as a single plan. This is what Savitri is observing. Savitri sees that in the God's creation, between the summit and the abyss is standing man, and it is there in him that the thought is arising. The thought can arise in him or can enter into him. Thought can arise from his subtle body. It can enter from the cosmic fields. This is what Savitri is saying it. So she beheld the many births of thought. A birth can be of what eternal is. Thoughts are eternal. But when they enter into us, they enter into us coming from the cosmic field or rising from within us, then we might call that as the birth of thought. The birth can be of what eternal is, for the eternal's powers are like himself, timeless in the timeless, in time ever born. This too she saw that all in outer mind is made, not born. The surface mind, the outer mind, it is not there that the birth of thought takes place. It is made, it is fabricated, it is constructed in the brain. This too she saw that all in outer mind is made, not born, a product perishable, because it is made. Force in the body is a factory by earth force. How is it made in us? By the force of the earth. It is that which makes thoughts in us. This mind is a dynamo. This mind is a dynamic small machine producing ceaselessly till it wears out with raw material drawn from the outside world. The pattern sketched out by an artist god. Often our thoughts are finished cosmic wares. They come ready-made, fully prepared, fully formed. It is when they enter into us, they take shape according to our capacity. Often our thoughts are finished cosmic wares, admitted by silent office gate and pass through the subconscious galleries, then issued in time smart as private marks. Yes, this thought belongs to X, this thought belongs to Y, this thought belongs to Z. It is that point they sort of seem to come from the individuals. Actually, they are entering into him, but when they enter into him and the outer mind, the surface mind, give them a shape, then it looks as if it is his thought, her thought, their thought, like that, and pass through the subconscious galleries. That is what happens. Then issued in time smart as private make. For now they bear the living person's stamp. When they come out like that, then they say, yes, this is thought coming from Einstein, this is Plato, it is this man, it is that man, philosophers. Until then, they really belong to the cosmic field. For now, they bear the living person to stand. A trick, a special hue claims them his own, or else is nature's craft, and this too hers. If it is not here, his, it is as if nature has produced that thing. All else is nature's craft, and this too hers, giving the shape to thought. Our tasks are given. We are but instruments. Nothing is all our own that we create. We think we are the creators. We are giving birth to new ideas. We are not. Nothing is all our own that we create. The power that acts on us is not our force. It is somebody else who is acting and producing those results. The genius too receives from some high found, the poet, the philosopher, the artist, the scientist. They also get from somewhere else. But then we start naming them. This creation is of this man, or that painter, or that poet, like that. The genius too receives from some high found, concealed in a supernal secrecy, the work that gives him an immortal name. It is something in a person which is capable of receiving those thoughts. But ultimately, what happens here is we say, oh, Shakespeare wrote that poem, that drama. Monet, he produced that painting. Beethoven gave rise to that music. We give names to them, but actually they're coming from some other source, and you have simply become a receiving instrument to give expression to them. Our tasks are given, we are but instruments. Nothing is all our own that we create. The power that acts in us is not our force. The genius too receives from some high found, concealed in a supernal secrecy, the world that gives him an immortal name. The word, the form, the charm, the glory and grace are missions passed from a stupendous fire. They come from some high fire, stupendous fire. It is that which comes here, and these are the sparks, the creations of artists, of poets, of philosophers, of scientists. They are the sparks of that stupendous fire. The word, the form, the charm, the glory and grace. What a beautiful line. The word, the form, the charm, the glory and grace. Iambic line ending with an anapist, 4 iambs, and the anapist. The word, the form, the charm, the glory and grace, and the alliteration of G, glory and grace, and R, repetitive R. The word, the form, the charm, the glory and grace. Very powerful line from the poetic point of view. Our missions pass from a stupendous fire. It is that fire when it is received, and when it is received in its true manner without distorting its contents, then it becomes an immortal name. A sample from the laboratory of God, then it becomes a sample from the laboratory of God. A sample from the laboratory of God, a very modern image of which he holds the patent upon earth. You have produced something in the laboratory and you apply for the patent and get the rights of sale for that patent. But actually, where from has it come? It has come from some other place. It is a stupendous fire spark which you have received, and it is that you are patenting, comes to him wrapped in golden coverings, comes to him wrapped, WRAPT. This is the Metonic spelling for wrapped, WRAPPED. Comes to him wrapped in golden coverings, like a gift packet. You wrap it with decorative papers. He listened to the inspirations, postman knock. Inspiration comes as a postman and knocks at your door, and you receive the gift. That gift with golden coverings. He listens to inspirations, postman knock, and takes delivery of the priceless gift, a little spoiled by the receiver mind, because receiver mind is not faithful enough. So there is a distortion. It gets deformed in the whole process, or mixed with the manufacture of the brain. If the true inspiration is received, then you have the greatest artistic creation possible. But normally, in our case, our brain, our mind intervenes and tries to give its own shape to the things which are coming to us, or mixed with the manufacture of his brain. When least defaced, then is it most divine. So the real effort of the artist lies in seeing that the inspiration which he receives is not deformed, is not defaced. The word, the form, the charm, the glory and grace are missions pass from a stupendous fire, a stamp from the laboratory of God, of which he holds the patent upon earth, comes to him wrapped in golden covering. He listens to the inspiration, postman knock, and takes delivery of the priceless gift, a little spoiled by the receiving mind, of mixed with the manufacture of his brain. When least defaced, then is it most sublime. Although, why does it get defaced? Because of his ego, because of his surface nature. Although his ego claimed the world for its use, man is a dynamo for the cosmic work. Nature does most in him. God, the high rest. Only his soul's acceptance is his own. Man is a dynamo. He is the energetic being to get things done. He can receive this thing. Although his ego claims, maybe let the ego claim it, but he is actually a dynamo who can be energetic, who can be a forceful person to impose his will also. Man is a dynamo for the cosmic work. That is his greatness. Nature does most in him. When he is true to himself, then nature will do to him. God, the high rest. When man is in that condition, both nature and God elevate his creation. This independent, once a power supreme, self-born before the universe was made, accepting cosmos, binds himself nature's serf till he becomes a freed man or God's slave. When such a person who is capable of receiving the precious gift of nature, then he accepts cosmos. He, in him, nature and God can work. Only his soul's acceptance, his own, that is what is required. When his soul accepts that thing, the nature will do most in him, and God, the high, rest. It will be taken care of by God himself. His soul's acceptance is his own. That is the true free will of man. Until then, he has no free will at all. He is governed by the laws of lower nature. But when his mind is free, when he can receive the inspiration in his truthfulness, receive it faithfully, then in that case it becomes his work revealed. Then he becomes independent. This independent, once a power supreme, this soul, once a power supreme, he has lent himself to nature. He is self-born. He is Swayambhu. He is not produced. He is not manufactured. He is self-born. This independent, once a power supreme, self-born, before the universe was made, he accepts cosmos, binds himself as nature's servant, as nature's serf, as nature's slave, till he becomes a freed man. He has accepted purposefully the servitude of nature in order to become freed man, in order to become God's slave. Freed man because he is bound to nature. He is governed by the laws of nature. But when he becomes a freed man, he becomes Jivana Mukta. It is only the Jivana Mukta who can then receive truly what the inspiration is bringing to him. He becomes her freed man or God's slave. He becomes Dasa. He accepts the Dasyahood of the divine. He surrenders himself totally to his will. He identifies his will with the will of the Supreme. And it is Dasya Bhava which then makes him one with God. Seen from human nature, human angle, this Dasyahood, this servitude is not acceptable to us. But our true greatness lies in becoming the slave of God. Not just becoming the servant of God, but a slave of God. To become the slave of God is a greater achievement of man than become the servant of God. He has to be not slave, gulam. He has to be slave, gulam, dasa of God, not sevaka, servant. Because in the case of a servant, in the case of a sevaka, it is possible to go away from the master. You are serving a master. Either the master will dismiss you or you will leave the master and go elsewhere. That is possible, but a dasa, slave, he will never leave his master. Now it is that dasya bhava of Kali in the will of the Supreme Lord. It is that which brings true dynamism to this creation, and it is then only that in her will, which is already one with the will of the Supreme, that the divine things can happen here. That to acquire that Kali Bhava, Kali Dasya is the greatest possible achievement for the human soul. And when the will of the Supreme is what is accepted by the will of the soul, then there is the completest divine fulfillment in this creation. This independent, once a power supreme, self born before the universe was made, accepting cosmos, binds himself nature's serf till he becomes a freed man or God's slave.